My name's Xavier B. Johnson, and this is Diesel Knights.
Diesel Knights is one of those projects that instantly caught people's attention the moment the first clip started circulating. And for good reason, there's been a gap in the industry for years now, especially for players who've been waiting for something to scratch that Titanfall itch. A fast, movement-driven shooter with real weight behind its combat, mechs that actually feel mechanical, and a world that isn't just another sci-fi reskin. And somehow, a small indie team has stepped in and said, fine, we'll build it ourselves. If you look at their Kickstarter, which blew past its goal by hundreds of % within days, you see exactly why players are excited. Diesel Knights isn't just another shooter, it's an alternate history diesel punk take where war machines evolved into towering exosuits instead of tanks, and where infantry and mechs fight side by side in cramped industrial battlegrounds. It's gritty, it's raw, and it has a visual identity that feels immediately distinct. What helps even more is how much the gameplay leans into that Titanfall style movement and mech interplay without copying it outright. Footage shows pilots sprinting through ruined complexes, sliding under debris, climbing over steel catwalks, and flanking enemy mechs with quick, decisive bursts. And when the mechs drop in, there's impact. They're loud, heavy, and intimidating, the way mechs should be. You get this sense of scale. Your pilot isn't useless on foot, but you feel the difference when you climb into one of these diesel monsters. And on top of that, the game's close quarters environments give it a feel that's very different from the open, futuristic arenas you see in most shooters. Instead of neon-lit streets or clean sci-fi architecture, Diesel Knights throws you into factory blocks, underground bunkers, smog-filled war zones, muddy alleys, smashed-up apartment blocks, places that actually look lived in, fought over, and bombed to hell. It gives the game this grounded texture that sets it apart immediately. What makes this even more impressive is how early it is and how much of the foundation is already working. Even in raw prototype footage, you can see the fluidity of movement, the recoil on weapons, the animation sync between pilot and mech actions. It's clear the team is prioritizing feel, the thing most FPS games fail at when they try to punch above their weight. Every time the devs share new clips, there's measurable progress. It's iterative, but it's focused, and that's really the bigger picture here. Diesel Knights is the type of game that only an indie developer can pull off right now. A big publisher wouldn't greenlight something like this. It's too experimental, too specific, too much of a passion project, but that's exactly why it's resonating so strongly. Players know authenticity when they see it. They know when a project exists because someone actually wanted to make something cool, not because a boardroom needed another product on their slate. That's also why this Kickstarter success isn't surprising. People want movement shooters again. They want mech integration that actually feels meaningful. They want a world that isn't overly polished or sanitized. Diesel Knights ticks all of those boxes while still carving out an identity that's entirely its own. And even beyond the core gameplay loop, the setting itself opens the door to so many interesting directions. Diesel punk is not something we get often, nor at all. It allows for heavy, smoke-belching mechs, experimental war machines, armored trains, vertical industrial maps, frozen front lines, oil-slicked factories glowing under floodlights. The art direction alone could carry this game if they lean into it, and it looks like they are. The team has already talked about expanding the roster of mech classes, deepening pilot abilities, refining the movement system, and building out maps that aren't just arenas but actual war team sandboxes. It's early and things can change, but the intent is clear. Build something that grows over time, not something that peaks on day one. And that's why people should be paying attention, not because this is guaranteed to shake the genre or anything dramatic like that, but because projects like this, when they land, become cult classics. They become the kind of games people talk about years later as that one shooter that did something different. Titanfall 2 became iconic exactly because it took risks. Diesel Knights is trying to follow that same spirit, not by copying it but by filling the void it left behind. So if you've been waiting for a movement shooter with real grit, if you've been missing mech combat that actually feels like combat, or if you just want something built with genuine passion instead of corporate checklist design, Diesel Knights is absolutely worth keeping on your radar. It's ambitious, it's unique, and it's already showing more personality than most big budget shooters. And honestly, that's the kind of project that deserves attention, because when indie teams like this succeed, the entire genre benefits. And the more you read through the Diesel Knights Kickstarter, the more you realize how much thought is going into every layer of this game. They're not pitching some vague vision, they're outlining actual systems and things already prototyped, things that fit the setting, things players have been asking for in shooters for years. For example, the mech design isn't just cosmetic, each mech has a real role. Frontline bruisers with heavy diesel engines, faster recon frames with lighter armor, mid-range suits that balance mobility with firepower. The team is building the mechs around this industrial oil-burning aesthetic, where everything feels engineered out of metal, heat, and pressure. You're not calling down futuristic drop pods, you're climbing into a walking furnace designed for war. Even the cockpits reflect this: cramped interiors, gauges vibrating, steam venting under stress. It feels handcrafted, not generic, and it's not just about mechs. The infantry gameplay has real depth too. Pilots can use grappling hooks, sliding movement, environmental cover. Vertical traversal levels are built with multiple routes and elevations, meaning you're not stuck running down straight corridors. One of the Kickstarter breakdowns even shows how choke points, blind corners, and destructible cover all factor into how firefights unfold. It's a shooter with actual map design philosophy, not just big open fields with props scattered around. The weapons also fit this diesel punk angle. High caliber rifles with heavy recoil, improvised sidearms, industrial tools repurposed as weapons. Nothing feels modern or futuristic, everything feels like it was welded together in a makeshift armory. The devs clearly want this world to feel tactile, dirty, and functional, like you can smell the oil burning off the machines. One detail I found interesting is how they're treating the world itself. It's not just World War II with mechs. The Kickstarter mentions an alternate timeline where industrial technology advanced in a different direction, where exosuits became the backbone of ground combat cities, or built vertically because mechs shaped the architecture. Streets are wider to accommodate massive machines, and everything from vehicles to buildings carries that heavy industrial design. It's an alternate history that actually feels like a world shaped by these machines. There's also a clear commitment to making this a community-driven game. The developers talk about mod support, long-term updates, transparent communication, and working with players, not around them. They've even shown early builds and breakdowns before the Kickstarter, not just polished trailers. That's rare. Most big games hide everything until marketing says it's safe. These devs are letting players see the rough edges because they actually want feedback, and honestly, that's one of the biggest reasons people should support projects like this. Indie developers aren't working with marketing checklists. They don't have a boardroom telling them which features need to be more accessible or which mechanic must appeal to the broadest demographic. They make what they genuinely think is cool, and players benefit from that. It's indie teams who try bold ideas, it's indie teams who build what they want to play, and it's indie teams who aren't afraid to dig into genres they studios abandoned years ago. Titanfall style shooters disappeared not because players didn't want them, but because publishers decided they were too risky. Indie teams don't care about that.